morning, good afternoon, or good evening. Welcome to the Six Bugle Podcast. I'm your host, Rudy Ruiz, and today we have a very special guest from Cooperative Services, Mr. Crosby Grindle. Crosby, how are you?
Great. How are you doing today, Rudy?
Oh, we're doing wonderful. So thank you very much for joining us here on our podcast. I know you have a lot of good information for us. So for those in our audience who aren't familiar with you, tell us a little bit about yourself and Cooperative Services.
Well, thanks, Rudy. I'm glad to be here. My background in the fire service is unique because I spent 20, 25 years in the uniform fire service as a volunteer, as a firefighter, as a paramedic, and ultimately as a chief officer before moving on to the International Association of Fire Chiefs as their director of professional development. Worked in a few other organizations like NFPA that your audience has probably heard of. But the last 20 years or so, I've been involved with cooperative purchasing, running and building cooperative purchasing organizations, many of whom have been focused on public safety and the fire service. So I have a unique perspective of both the fire service and cooperative purchasing.
Right. And it's a wealth of knowledge that you have there. So tell us in all of that experience that you have and expertise in cooperative procurement, walk through your fire service executive for our fire service executive assistants through how cooperative purchasing can specifically help fire departments stretch their budgets while still getting the high quality equipment and services they need.
You bet, Rudy. I mean, that sounds ideal if we can do that, right?
Yeah,
In the fire service, we really care about the equipment and the products we purchase. Lives literally depend on it, right?
absolutely.
Both for the responders that are using that equipment and the public that they're sworn to protect. So being able to have choice in your procurement process is particularly important in public safety and certainly the fire service, even more so than other government agencies. I mean, everybody loves choice, right? But the fire service has a real good reason for wanting to have that choice. And so let's talk about what cooperative contracts are designed to do. Basically, at their core, they're designed to satisfy the procurement requirements of these fire agencies, of these local government entities. Even if they're a volunteer fire agency, they often have procurement requirements, or they like to follow government procurement rules because they might receive government funding.
Right.
So these cooperative contracts are designed to satisfy your procurement requirements. They're designed to offer some kind of price advantage, usually national pricing, which is good because it speaks to that saving money.
Sure.
And they usually represent a well-established and well-used contract or supplier because these contracts are often used by hundreds, if not thousands, of other departments to ensure that pricing, warranty, terms, and all those things are well vetted. Because if you just go out and do a procurement on your own, it's a lot of work you have to do to make sure
Right.
that you're getting the right price and working with the right supplier in that opportunity. And also, these contracts offer you all kinds of options and advantages without obligation. That's the nice thing about most government cooperative contracts. They're there as a convenience for you to use when you want to and when they benefit you, and you don't have to use them when they don't.
Right.
And many of these co-ops, especially the larger national co-ops, have a relationship with the supplier at a much higher level than an individual agency would. So they're an advocate for you should you have any issues with that supplier. So yes, people care about getting the best price, and certainly that is really important. But I encourage folks to think about the fact that there's many other pieces to the pie of how you make a purchase and get the best value for your organization, your agency. And certainly having a good price, the best price is ideal. But even if it's not the absolute best price, your time is worth something, choice is worth something, making sure you have the right supplier and a well-established contract is worth something. So these are all factors to consider in the value proposition of why a cooperative contract can help you get more out of your budget and those high quality suppliers and items that you deserve. And
Absolutely.
not only does it apply to equipment used in emergency response, but honestly, it also includes office supplies and furnishings and technology. And believe it or not, you can build fire stations now off cooperative contracts in many states. So there's a lot of purchases that cooperative contracts add value, and even what we call below threshold purchases for things that normally you wouldn't have to go out to bid. Imagine using a contract that's used by thousands of others with with many hundreds of millions of dollars in volume, you're probably going to get better pricing. So the bottom line is it saves fire service executive assistants and office administrators time and money in their procurement process.
That's fantastic. And that's what we're all about here at the Sixth Bugle. We want to make sure that that's how this all began, just giving them an opportunity to bring more value to the organization, more value to the chiefs, to the firefighters, and to the communities that they serve. And because we found out that that's what they're all about. That's what they want to do. It's just that they're not familiar with all the resources that are available. So that's what we bring to the table is that bring companies like yourself and resources that you offer to the administrative assistants so that one, it makes their job easier, right? No, everybody wants to have that. And two, makes them more valuable to the organization. So that's just fantastic. And I will tell you, recently at FRI, as I was walking through the expo, I noticed a lot of your tent flags and a lot of these different vendors that were in the showroom, indicating that they're partners with you. So that tells me that you're absolutely right. It's not just one area or one section. You collaborate with hundreds of different companies, and that has nothing but added benefit to organizations that these listeners are representing.
Yeah, thanks, Rudy. And you're certainly right about the folks that your organization represent being the backbone of the industry, right? And as someone who used to work with them, and I recognize the value they bring, and I love that you exist as an organization to help them do their jobs.
Yeah, absolutely. So let me ask you, what practical steps can they take to identify and develop mutual beneficial relationships with other fire departments, vendors, or even cooperative purchasing organizations?
Good question. So cooperative purchasing comes in many shapes and sizes, Rudy. So there's local and regional cooperative purchasing that happens all the time. Makes a lot of sense, right? Fire departments need to be able to work together interoperably with their equipment. And so it makes sense for a few different fire departments to come together to go out to bid for things like fire hose or turnout gear or breathing apparatus. And so these regional and local cooperative purchasing options represent some value. However, they also represent some limitations because it means everybody has to agree on things, which is
Sure.
often hard to do at a regional level.
Yeah.
And it means that some agency has to manage those contracts and future changes and amendments and pricing adjustments to those contracts. These are all reasons that national co-ops exist because there's actually a fair amount of work to creating and managing these contracts. So I'm all for local and regional cooperative procurement, and those are great options. Again, cooperative purchasing is an option no matter what you're doing there.
Mhm.
So keep in mind you have those options, but make sure you put the proper language in your procurement process and your solicitation process if you're going to have other agencies piggybacking off the resulting contracts,
Sure.
or otherwise you could open yourself up for some issues there. But your agency's attorney and procurement officials can help you with that.
Mhm.
When it comes to developing relationships with more national level cooperatives, ask your suppliers what cooperative contracts they have and what cooperatives they prefer working with. We know fire agencies and administrative professionals have suppliers they prefer working with and have relationships with those folks.
Sure.
Reach out to them, ask them what their experience is with that and why they like working with certain co-ops better. You'll learn a lot of information just from having that conversation. And
Good.
then the next step is I'd say reach out to some of the co-ops that you've heard of or that you've heard have a good reputation and ask them why you should work with them, what they have to offer. Specifically, you'll want to ask them about how their contracts are created and how they satisfy your procurement requirements.
Mhm.
They should be created by a lead government agency for them to be legal for you to use. There's a couple of co-ops out there that don't do that. There's a couple of states that have some exceptions to that. So you do need to put a little bit of work into looking through that, and that's where co-ops can help you with that. We do education at conferences with that. There's a lot of website information that can help you with that. But
Good.
you want to ask how they're managed, how they're willing to support you with questions and documentation. Remember, they are basically doing your procurement process for you. They're representing you in that process. So they should be able to answer those questions and provide you with that documentation. If a co-op isn't easy to work with or very forthcoming with that information, they might not be the right fit.
Sure.
So these are things to think about when you're developing relationships in this space and trying to make that decision.
Good.
My consulting company works closely with the Professional Association for Cooperative Procurement. and that is called NCPP, and their website is ncppassociation.org. And I mention them because they're a nonprofit association that represents the industry. Their members are made up of cooperatives, of suppliers that use cooperative contracts, and of procurement officials and government officials, including fire service office administrators and executive assistants. And in fact, that membership is free in NCPP. But I mention them because they have a lot of free resources and educational material to help your members evaluate cooperatives and the cooperative process and help them make good decisions on that. And
Excellent.
then I do want to, if I can, Rudy, I want to mention one co-op that really stands out in the space. And I think that's who you were referring to when you saw the tent flags at FRI. They really stand out in this space. And that's Sourcewell.
Right.
They're the largest government-based co-op in North America. And they did something like $13 billion in sales last year through all their contracts. They have like 900 contracts. There's 50,000 government agencies that use them. But out of that, they have about 130 contracts focused just on public safety because several years ago, they recognized the importance of serving that community.
Mhm.
And they have been working with my company and many fire service professional associations to understand the industry and bring the right contracts to the table. And they've done a great job with it. And since they're a government agency themselves, they're really easy and great to work with. I think it's one of the reasons they've had that success in that space.
Right.
So, there's a lot of resources out there that with cooperatives that help you do your jobs, but you do have to do a little bit of work to build that relationship.
Right. Absolutely. Great information. So we are starting an association, a national association. We're kicking that off at our conference here this week. And so I hope we can have you back on because what you're saying is a wealth of information. And obviously this podcast is short, but we're planning on having workshops and webinars and that type of thing. So I'd love to have you back on and feature you on one of the sessions during the month and kind of share what you're talking about here into a little bit more detail. I think that would bring tremendous value to our members at that point.
Sounds great, Rudy. I mean, your audience is a key audience for us as we do public education about cooperative
Right.
procurement as a resource for government entities and fire departments. And certainly your members represent the key to that, right? Because they're the ones trying to help the fire chief and the procurement officials come together on that procurement process.
Absolutely. So, one last question for you here, Crosby. With the increasing budgets, pressures, technology, that's the integration of technology and unique challenges facing fire services today, what emerging trends should our executive assistants be prepared for? What do you see that's happening in the very near future, say within the next 6 months?
Great question. I mean, everybody wants to know, right? I feel like times are more uncertain than ever, and so
Right.
everybody's curious what the future brings, right? And certainly when we talk about budget pressure and procurement challenges, it's important to consider the actual cost of conducting a procurement process.
Mhm.
And this is something for your members to think about because time is money as well.
Sure.
And that professional association I mentioned, NCPP, actually did a study on what the cost of conducting a procurement process is. And that's something that your members might want to look more into, or I can share more in the future. So considering the cost of procurement is something that's increasingly a question and a conversation in the government procurement space. Certainly, we need to recognize the impact of AI and large language models on procurement process because, as you can imagine, they could do an awful lot of the procurement process
Right.
for a government entity, right?
Sure.
And could do some of the supplier work on responding to procurement
Absolutely.
solicitations.
Right.
There are a lot of e-procurement platforms out there now that agencies are starting to use to streamline their procurement process. You're going to see more and more use with that. There are cooperative contract aggregators that bring together a variety of cooperative contract options for government agencies to consider. And I'm seeing an adjustment in bid thresholds because
Hmm.
as costs rise, the bid threshold amount rises. You might change where you need to do an RFP versus when you don't need to do that.
Got it.
All of this will lead to changes in the procurement process. And so that's why I would encourage your members more than anything to build a relationship with their procurement officials. For the most part of my experience, procurement officials want to help fire agencies and want to help the agencies they work with get the products that they want to get, right? And often I'll hear of adversarial relationships where they feel like procurement just keeps us from getting what we want to get. I would suggest we flip the narrative on that and try to build a relationship with those procurement officials because they want to see you be successful and they want to see you get the products and services you want for the price you want. So building a relationship with the procurement officials and asking them what changes they see coming up with their procurement process in the coming months would be a great idea as well.
Yeah. Good points. Crosby, you're dropping gold here today. Very valuable information here. I'd love to go on more. We have tons more questions, and I'm sure there's going to be a lot of questions that are coming up after people watch this. So, how can they get a hold of you?
Great. Well, you can certainly find me on LinkedIn just by looking up my name, Crosby Grindle. It's a little bit unique, and my company is Cooperative Services, and we serve the cooperative purchasing industry. And happy to reach out with anyone that would like to chat further.
All right. We'll make sure we put that information at the end of our podcast. And also we look forward to having you join us at our conference next year. I know things were kind of tight this year as far as our timing goes with partnering with you, but you have some a fantastic opportunity to provide your services to a group of individuals who I know would appreciate everything they do. They once they know, like, and trust you, I think you can establish some wonderful relationships with people from all over the country that we serve.
Thank you, Rudy. I'm looking forward to it. I'm excited for the organization that you're building nationally. It's certainly needed, and certainly the folks that do that work need to be recognized for the work they do and the value they bring to the fire service.
Yes, all right. Thank you very much. Crosby Grindle from Cooperative Services. Thank you very much, Crosby. We appreciate your time, brother. And
Thank
for
you,
those of
Rudy.
you that are watching, thank you all for watching the Six Bugle podcast. And we look forward to seeing you this week at the conference. And for those of you that will not be there, we're looking forward to, you can watch some of the videos that we're going to be producing from the conference. And we look forward to seeing you again very, very soon. All right, everyone, take care.